Welcome to Rich Strouse Field.
It is not often that you get to know a man who impacted an entire community.
He led by example.
He was always involved with something at the school.
He just faced everything with a level head.
Had a lot of influence on a lot of people.
He loved everybody.
When you were down, he'd pump you up.
He treated everybody alike.
A man who was noble, yet humble.
It's not win or lose, it's how you play the game. For him, that was absolutely the truth.
He always said after a losing situation, he always says, you know what? The sun will always come up tomorrow.
A husband, a father, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, and a role model to everyone who met him. There is a reason the Ballard Bombers football field was named to honor one man. Hall of Fame coach Richard Strouse made just as big an impact off the field as he did on it. Rich's success as a high school football and track coach is widely known, but his achievements went deeper than just wins and losses. An article titled Richard Strouse, He Really Lived, exemplifies his kindness and impact on the Ballard community. But early on in Rich's life, he had a huge roadblock in his way. As a child, he contracted polio. Yet Rich believes he was given polio for a reason. And that reason is to show people no matter what curveball life throws at you, you can accomplish anything you want.
I'd walk into school at an early bird PE class. I'd get there about 6:50 or so, and he'd already be on the Airdyne bike, sweating, completely drenched. Holy cow, good morning, coach. About time you got here. I've already got 20 miles in every day. You know, and he would do his 100, he'd do 1,000 sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups a day. A day. The guy was ripped, man. He was just ripped. And I think once again, he was not going to use that as an excuse to not be in the best physical condition he could be in.
Used to run track. He had it mapped out of what a mile was, and he would run, 7 to 10 miles at any given time, and he would do it with a sweatsuit on. So I never forgot that, he would go for a certain amount of time, then he would stop, and then he would go into the corner of the restroom, open up his sweatsuit, water would just pour out. I mean, literally a half a gallon of water would just drop out, and that's something that I always, anytime that I was ever doing anything, just realized that you can always push through something, and you look at him and he just emptied a half a gallon of sweat out of his suit, and then he would keep going until he was done.
Rich Strouse arrived on the Ballard scene in 1977, along with his wife Sue and family.
I actually grew up with his bunch and my bunch. He was on this side of the railroad tracks, I was on this side of the railroad tracks. He went to public school, I went to Catholic school, but our schools meshed on everything, socialized, dances and all that stuff. So I knew him for years. He had a twin brother, and they were the town talk. They were good guys.
As a coach and teacher, Rich shaped young kids into respectable adults. This type of nurturing, yet stern mentoring benefited the best and most challenging kids alike. Nobody was too broken for Rich Strouse to befriend them.
I mean, I think he gave everybody a square deal. Didn't have any favorites.
People that you wouldn't think he would give a chance to, he really grasped onto those people and did what he could to help them either change their life or, be a better person. That's what he was about.
When he didn't judge, he wasn't one to judge person. Didn't have to be a member of his football team for him to care about you.
He was just a happy guy. He was friendly, loving, sometimes demanding. He demanded a lot out of his students, which they thanked him for later on. He was just an easy guy to get along with, to know.
Didn't matter whether you're a football player, an athlete, or just someone who was involved with band or just classwork at Ballard.
He didn't gravitate to the top athlete either.
Right.
You could have the best athlete in school, and he treated you the same as he treated the kid that was in shop class that never went out for a sport. I mean, it was the same thing. He never made anybody feel more special than they were. It's just you're a human being. He's going to treat you accordingly.
Make no mistake, he did reward effort.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, if you put the effort in, he would match your effort back to you. And
Rich was all about kids. He was all about what was best for kids. He exemplifies to me what Ballard is, the Ballard way. Just a genuine, nice person, cared about people.
You're going into school, or when you're going to school, what you want your teacher to be to you as a mentor, as somebody to look up to. There wasn't anybody better in my mind, and I know that's, you know, I'm kind of partial, kind of biased to that, but just the simple fact that if you had an issue, regardless of what it was, it could have been just about anything. His door was always open.
He had a way of making you see the good in things and the positive outcome before the negative happened. So if that makes sense to you at all, he just infectious guy to be around.
He really pulled for the underdog, and I think part of the reason he did that is because of his physical disability with polio, and I think he always just had that soft spot in his heart for the underdog. But I'll tell you what, when he barked, people listened. He would get frustrated like any other human being, and he would let it snap in practice, and by gosh, you'd listen.
He was a guy that either, whether it be a PE teacher, whether it be a coach, he was a guy that you would walk through fire for. He could get the most out of every athlete and every student he had in class. No matter their ability, they could be the all-star or they could be the worst player on the team. He was going to get whatever he could get out of that kid.
Those relationships shone brightest among his players.
Yeah, so like he would definitely tell you if you did something wrong, but he'd also love on you. And he always taught us about life. So the game of football was one thing, just a small part of your life, but teaching you about life and what it takes to be a good person, a lot of character. And so we built that into his football program.
In addition to his numerous winning seasons in football, Rich Strouse was widely known for his coaching of track. Ballard had an excellent 1994 track season when Rich Strouse, Coach Ronka, and the team went all the way to capture the state championship. The competitors on the team knew that they were going to capture that title even before the meet got started.
That day was very focused. We jacked around a lot in practice and everything, you know, the guys, and that day you could look at every one of the runners that was going to state, and it was pure focus. It was serious. It wasn't mess around time anymore. You know.
It was a great day. It was my dad's first and only state championship. Our family was all there. His twin brother was there. It was just a great day. It was perfect weather. I remember that. I remember Coach Ronka on the video cam doing the play-by-play, and that was fun. It was just a great day. I don't know really how to describe it any better than that.
You could tell they were on a mission and what we wanted to achieve.
We just knew it. I mean, we won every meet that year, and we just knew it. So I don't know if we were screwing around a little bit before then and had my dad a little nervous about it, but I think we were just calm, and we had a blast down there. Everybody liked each other. It was just fun, and we just knew that we were going to win.
Their confidence shone. They didn't just win the state track meet, they destroyed the competition when it came to the point differential between first and second place. It is clear the impact Rich had on his athletes, but Rich wasn't just a role model for his players, he was a role model to his coaches as well.
In the years that I coached with Rich, I would say that being a young new coach, I couldn't have asked for a better role model. I think the best part about he and I were different enough, a generation apart, but still with the same philosophy about what's best for kids. When to pour it on, when to lay off, when to counsel, when to nurture, and when to get hardcore with kids. And it just worked really well. We played good cop, bad cop a lot, and we'd switch that role. and it just really worked well.
So Rich was the head football coach, the head track coach, and I was just a junior high coach, but he gave me the respect that he thought I needed as a junior high coach. He thought that position was extremely important for his program.
I'd come in after practice and I was upset, or I'd be down, or I'd be upset about a kid, and he'd say, "Sit on the couch." That was his famous word. He'd sit on the couch. It was a couch in the coach's office, and he'd shut the door. He said, "Let me hear it." And I'd tell the story, and he'd always have the right thing to say. He was a phenomenal listener. You know, he'd listen, and then at the right time he would say, "And here's what we should do about it. What do you think?" You know, and you'd always reflect with him. I think it's just, he taught me patience. He taught me that there's always good in people, no matter what kind of a person they are. And I witnessed him in school all the time, talking to that underdog, talking to the kid that got busted for smoking in the boys' room. You know, rather than scorning that kid, he's like, "Get over here, come here. You learn your lesson, you knucklehead." You know, and the kid would know that this guy loves me no matter how stupid I was. And I think that's something that I learned. It's really not appropriate to this day. I just told a student today that was in my office, I will not judge you as a high school kid or as a teenager, because if I judged all teenagers, I'd hate my job. We all make mistakes when we're teenagers. That's part of the growing up process. And I think Rich really instilled that in me. And it's okay to say you love people while you're on this earth. You know what I mean? I think it's difficult for him not to use that word. He would sit there and he'd point at himself and he'd point at the team, and there were many times I'd cry during his pregame speeches, because it was about love and it was about togetherness and brotherhood, and go out and have fun. So I think those are some major takeaways.
Love and joy are emotions Rich brought to everyone. Even when he was diagnosed with cancer, he never ceased to bring happiness everywhere he went. Though he brought so much joy to others, he was facing a battle with cancer. Dr. Kurt Peterson helped Rich through this battle.
That first year that Pete had his partnership out here at the clinic was when Rich got sick. And he sent him immediately. Pete knew who it was because he was going to be an orthopedic surgeon, and it never happened. He had a hand injury and he never got to pursue that, but he immediately sent him down to Des Moines. They immediately sent him to Iowa City. Iowa City immediately did surgery on him, but Pete was there every single minute. He took over, he took care of him. In that last week that Rich was alive, he spent many hours here at the house, and he says, but he had told Rich right when he got out of medical school, he said, "Oh man, don't you worry, I'll take care of you." And he did.
The community also wanted to honor Rich. On October 29th, 1999, the Ballard community renamed the football field to the Rich Strouse Field in honor of their beloved coach. Everyone in the Ballard community showed up to appreciate Rich Strouse.
That night was just cool. His family was there. All of his brothers and sisters that were still remaining were there. He had a twin brother that kind of mirrored his coaching career at Milford and Terrell and Spirit Lake. Both of them in the Hall of Fame, High School Hall of Fame football coaches. That was kind of neat.
I think the night that they named the football field after him was pretty touching. That was probably one of my best memories, because he definitely earned it and had touched a lot of lives at Ballard, and I think that was an important thing to do and the right thing to do.
That was a special night. Coach Strouse and all his family was there, and they had a big dedication to name the field Rich Strouse Field. That was a great night. I just remember going up and shaking his hand.
Boy, we talk about pregame dinners. The magnitude of this is so much that it's hard for me to comprehend. And it's very difficult for me to try to put in words what I really would like to say. So I'm going to try to make this real short. Just going to run through a few things real quick. It starts out back in 1939 when I was, I'll get this quick. But I try to reflect through my life and what has made me the person that I am today. In 39, when I was struck down with polio, when I think back to those days, I think that polio was something that was supposed to happen because it made me a very strong person. And I got that strength from that. And then as I go through life, I think about what is important. Probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was when I was standing next to me, my wife, who we talked about magnitude things and things that are important. She's been my life. And then I think on from there to the wonderful kids that I have. And then moving on from there, what a profession I chose. You know, you think about it, what else but coaching and education can you work with a product that I had the opportunity to work with? And that was my football players and my troops. As a job, I love coming to my job every day. And that's probably why in 30 years, I never missed a day of school. Because I love my students, and I taught my students the way I loved them. And those things will go on and on forever. And I think about this night, the magnitude of this night is overwhelming. And I call it the big payoff. God bless all of you, and may God always be a part of your life. Thank you.
Play football.
Later that year, Rich Strouse lost his battle with cancer.
I think back of Wall Lake and when I was real young, and then back to the dedication time and when coming to the end stuff, the amount of kids and stuff that were at his funeral that came to visit him prior to him passing, and the amount of kids from other schools and previous schools that he taught at and schools in the conference. That's what really made an impression on me towards the end, is how many kids from the team, your rival teams, knew and respected him and stuff. And how that happened, I don't know, but everybody knew Coach Strouse.
When's the last time you guys got together, the three of you, and sat down and just talked about that?
It's been a while. That's why I think we ever. I don't know that we ever have.
Isn't that crazy?
But we get together a lot.
Yeah.
After his funeral, I don't know, kids used to do that, what he was doing.
That was our
We just went on a walk as brothers and ended up by the field, and then it was all quiet, and then all of a sudden Kurt starts doing the clap.
Wow.
The Ballard community changed when Rich passed, yet comfort can be found knowing he's looking out for us.
Gosh. Rich Strouse was just one of those guys that you think about legacy. he left a legacy. Just on character and the love of his family and friends and his players and just the love of Ballard.
I mean, he bled red. This was an article that was in the newspaper after he passed away. You know, and it starts like this. He says, there's two kinds of people in this world, those who are alive and those who live. Not everyone who is alive has lived. Those that truly live by the very nature of their lives inspire and challenge the rest of us to grow and become better than we are. No one I have ever met was more alive than Rich Strouse, and that was Rich.
Shortly after his death, a memorial garden was created just in front of the football field that was named after him.
Kids still walk through the path and touch his rock that's there. There's a very special group of people, including Mr. Fletcher and Mr. Vespa and some folks who put that thing together, and to this day, it's still a tradition.
You know, I wanted to honor Rich, and so Sue Erickson and myself and a couple others kind of designed that. Originally, it had tulips with red and white, and we wanted those to come up in the spring when they had track meets, you know, so that we could have the Ballard colors in there. It had a bleeding heart, which he left behind in the community. A bleeding heart plant that's really kind of hard to grow, and since that has died off. We had a weeping mulberry tree in there to kind of symbolize, our hearts after he passed away. And then we had some lilacs in there, some miniature lilacs that would look nice in the spring, and then of course the rock. And the Harrises gave us that rock, and they were let's see, Kennedy was the one who, I can't remember his first name, but Kennedy was the one who placed that rock there. Remember the day that he brought his big old crane in there and placed that rock, and then we created that sign to put it on there, and it was just kind of a whole, a lot of things that came together just to symbolize Rich's life and what he meant to all the people here at Ballard.
You guys still do the touching the rock and stuff. How cool is that?
One thing I noticed playing all 4 years is I never saw one of my players or one of the players on our team not touch that rock. So I think that, even though we don't even know him, I think that just that respect that we have for him, touching that rock every single game.
The rock outside the field, it's Coach Strouse, it's legacy. It's all about touching the rock, it's about character, and the love for Ballard.
Even though we don't get to see Rich every day, his spirit lives on in the Ballard community. His legacy will live on forever, for generations to come, because of the people he impacted throughout his life.
I'm really glad you're doing this, because a lot of our players, they go touch the rock and stuff. They probably don't even know who Coach Strouse was. So that would be my biggest thing, is just to know who he is.
It's obviously, we didn't know Rich Strouse personally, but what the coaches told us about him just kind of gives us that respect, that gives us respect for him. We had Scott Edwards, one respected coaches that we have for us, and one of the Thursday nights he kind of told us about Rich Strouse and how many lives he changed and everything, and I think that just shows the kind of person that Rich Strouse was.
If you don't tell the story dies. If you don't keep the story alive, the legacy dies. So I think it's really important what you're doing, and I think it's a very special thing. The more people that really understand who the man was versus, well, who's Rich Strouse and why is there a field named after him? Well, after something like this, they're gonna really have a good understanding of what that means. I try to be a better man because I knew Rich Strouse.